Welcome to Ink and Imagination. I'm Craig Cruz, author and poet. Today we'll read another chapter of MUSSOPO and His Great Adventure. And remember, anyone can write with a little imagination. Let's get started. Let's read Chapter 4, An Unexpected Friend. As the rats approached MUSSOPO, they were unsure if the possum was even alive as he lay there motionless. But it only took a second for him to jump up when the rats approached him. When they got close to him, they immediately surrounded him. "Are you hurt?" the first rat asked sarcastically. "Leave me alone," MUSSOPO tried to sound brave. "We only want to have some fun," one of the other rats spat. "Where's the young rat you befriended? We have some unfinished business with her. Have you found her yet?" the last rat asked rapidly. The rats moved closer to MUSSOPO, baring their teeth at him, one of them sinking his teeth into the back leg of the already injured possum. "Ouch!" MUSSOPO cried out. This only intensified the situation as the rats closed in. MUSSOPO decided that he would fight back, but knew that he was no match for the three mean rats. MUSSOPO stood firm and waited for the pounce from the three terrorizing rats. He was amazed at what happened next. To his surprise, a small black dog with a low growl approached the scene. The rats immediately sensed the danger and started to back away from the dog. The dog snapped at the rats, and although the dog himself had very few teeth, he was able to bite one of the rats. The rat let out a squeal, and all three of them fled. They ran as fast as they could toward the barn. The dog looked down at the injured possum. MUSSOPO looked closely at the dog. He was not a large dog. He was black in color with missing pieces of fur that left bald spots on the animal. The bit of fur that he did have was matted to his body. He was also missing quite a few of his teeth. In fact, MUSSOPO only counted 3 teeth, but he thought that he may have had some in the back that he couldn't see. One of the dog's eyes didn't seem to focus on MUSSOPO either. He thought that it was possible that he was blind in that eye. "Are you going to hurt me?" MUSSOPO asked the dog that had just saved him from the rats. The dog looked closely at MUSSOPO and put his nose down to smell him. MUSSOPO repeated the question to him. The dog spoke slowly. "I am sorry. I will not hurt you, but I cannot hear very well. You will have to speak up. When I saw you in trouble, I wanted to help you," he continued. MUSSOPO smiled his toothy grin and loudly asked, "What is your name and where do you live?" "My name is Moki, and I do not have a home. When I was a little puppy, I had a lot wrong with me, and the people that owned me and my brothers and sisters put us in a box with the sign that read 'Free Puppies,' and gave all of them away to loving families, but no one seemed to want me. I had hoped that they would take me home and care for me, but they left me in the box by the side of the road," Moki said sadly. "I am so sorry. That is terribly sad," MUSSOPO said consolingly, still feeling the pain in his leg. Moki walked closer to MUSSOPO and started to lick his leg, trying to make it feel better. "There's a creek nearby. Let's go to it and wash your wounds," urged Moki. "I'm afraid that I'm too weak to walk. Maybe after I rest," MUSSOPO said, lying back down again. Moki clamped his mouth onto the back of MUSSOPO's neck and very gently picked the possum up. MUSSOPO understood that the dog was there to help, and he carried him to the creek. While the dog carried the possum, MUSSOPO told him a story of how he longed to be home with his family, of how he had met Star and the terribly mean rats, and of how he was trying to find Star, who was waiting in the prettiest tree that she could find. MUSSOPO remembered to speak loudly so that the nearly deaf dog could hear him. By the time he was done with the story, they had arrived at the creek where Moki gently laid MUSSOPO into the steady stream of cool water that brought much comfort to the possum's wounds. After a long rest, MUSSOPO felt strengthened enough to look for food. It didn't take long to find some berries to eat, which helped him feel much better. Moki did not eat any berries. "What do you normally eat?" MUSSOPO asked. Moki didn't hear him and barked at a small bird that landed a few feet from him. MUSSOPO asked him again, louder this time. "I don't eat much. My teeth have a hard time being able to chew. I'm hungry a lot of the time, but that is okay. I like to get into people's garbage because I often find stuff to eat that has gotten wet and made soft and is easy to eat," Moki answered, looking toward the bird again. After MUSSOPO was done eating, he decided it was time to go east to look for Star, but he wondered if Moki would like to go on this journey with him. "Moki," he asked, "would you want to journey with me east to my home to find my family? I must find Star first, and I do not know what kind of home you may find where I come from, but it might be good. At least we could hope." Moki wagged his wiry tail as he thought of traveling with the possum. "You wouldn't mind?" "Of course not. You have proven to be the most valuable friend, first fending off those evil rats and then carrying me to the soothing waters. I don't know how I could ever repay you." "You do not have to repay me. Just telling me that you care and that you want me to be with you is payment enough. I do not know if anyone has ever cared for me before." Moki smiled his toothless grin, and the dog and possum touched noses and started walking eastward. The rats made it back near the barn by nightfall, and were very upset with the scraggly dog and the possum. They vowed to get even with him. They knew that the possum was injured, and when he separated from the dog, that he would once again be an easy target. As the rats envisioned the possum away from the dog, they knew that the possum would meet a dreadful fate. They were evil and only wanted harm for MUSSOPO. They hoped that they would then take revenge on the dog. That would be much harder, but possible. They just needed the right plan. They were sly rats and knew that they would think of something, but first they had an even easier target. At daylight, they would pick up the scent of the young female rat and finish her off. They decided that this would be the first step in their plan of revenge. Star sat quietly in the pretty tree, on the highest limb that she could climb, and watched until dark for MUSSOPO. She was sad that he had not made it to her yet, and hoped that she had found the right tree. It did seem to her to be the prettiest, but she also feared that her direction was off, and that she may have headed west, or worse, north. As she sat in the tree, she became worried. In the silence of the woods, a small rat can hear a lot of different noises. As she listened, she tried to imagine what each of the sounds were: a coyote in the distance, a bug on her limb eating a leaf, a car horn from the road that was not too very far away, the sound of flowing water from a nearby creek, and then the hoot of an owl that happened to be in the same tree. She became scared again, for she had heard that owls will eat rodents. She had already experienced the talons of the great red-tailed hawk from the previous day, and by no means wanted to alert the owl that she was in his vicinity. She curled into a little ball and tried to think good thoughts, but the silence of the woods was too loud for her. She was scared. Thank you for listening to this chapter of MUSSOPO and His Great Adventure. Until the next chapter, keep imagining and pick up a pen. The next story could be yours.